they're wrong, doesn't understand what happened 2016 years ago, or chooses not to want to know. Chooses, for whatever reason they have, to continue to believe that folks' innocence from birth is at a spiritual deficit, and that as folk go along the life, they just, cripple and damage and poison their soul even more. Well, that's I suppose my biggest complaint against those who serve their Bible books and whatever, because they find as proof of their thinking all the evidence they need when they look inside those Bible books and their Quran books and whatever. And I say, most everybody that I know that has honestly been arrested and imprisoned and experienced the degradation of becoming a no longer free person, either American or Polish or Canadian, that all the evidence that was needed to put that person in that confinement, in that subjugated state, was given mostly by themselves. You see, words often reveal the heart. What's dwelling there, the spiritual state of that heart and that person's human being. So I'm not really going to miss my son, and I'm not going to miss my Maria, because I know that when my biology is taken out of the equation, when I become spirit full and true, then there will be more of heaven's capital warrants, more protection, more pardon will follow. When heaven protects you, you are protected for sure. And if anybody wants to consult their holy books and see how our Father's justice is made manifest, either with a pardon or with a warrant, well, I guess the events in Egypt of 3,000 or so years ago are worth considering. But I do not suggest you open any Bible book or any holy book, or keep a note of anything spiritual. Make it 7 words long and make it the equivalent that our Savior brother had instructed us to love one another as he loves us. And that when we violate that, when we violate that directive, that spiritual directive, that law, always true, when we violate that, we do it at our own self. We incriminate ourselves. We prove ourselves. Now, some folks say here in America, freedom is the highest standard. Well, yes. And every freedom has lingering cost. How much you willing to pay for it? I don't mean in property or funds. I mean in personal suffering and enduring suffering. But there's a pay as well. And when heaven pays you, you've been paid. And I got news for you. Hell's currency has always been false, and it's always been counterfeit, and it's never even worth a tinker's damn. Now, see, that's a phrase that doesn't get much use anymore, because I haven't met a tinker in my whole life, 59 years. But tinkers were a common occupation once, and it involved laborious work, repetitive work, that you take a metal and you make it soft and you whack and you wind up whacking yourself along the way. And when those things happen, the fella or the lady would usually say, damn. Well, I suggest faithful folks' blessing is better than the tinker's damn. So I'll be able to bring to heaven when my soul separates from this biological prison of mine. Looking forward to that day. Be able to do even better good. Looking forward. But in the interim, I've been given to understand that there is a Interpol warrant issued by Poland, criminal, for the Trump organization and Donald J. Trump in particular, for the unlawful slavery, the unlawful confinement, the unlawful forced labor of 2 Polish male citizens that he himself admitted to the crimes. Sadly for him, Poland's warrant is capital in nature. That means wanted, dead or alive. In his case, it is preferred dead, but suppose that would be his choice. And although I lack the physical capacities to return him to Poland for his trial, ready to hold court right here and now. At least this part of court's work. And I'm guessing by extension, a criminal's doing extends to each and every human folk that joins themselves with that criminal. When the criminal Al Capone was taken into custody, brought to trial at federal court in Chicago, he had prepared for his trial in the classic way. He had distributed funds and threats to keep people at every level of government. And Elliot Ness, the brave federal treasury agent, friend of the U.S. Marshal Service, would not relent. Mr. Ness, Agent Ness, is not a perfect man, but he would not succumb to the assassination attempts that Mr. Capone, criminal Capone's forces tried after their bribery efforts were unsuccessful. Now it's true those servants of the criminal Capone did a lot of harm. But if you knew the penalty that they paid, you would see it was a wasted effort, maybe something better left undone. So the criminal Capone never sought political power. He found it easier just to control political power, you know, from his criminal enterprises. And was he surprised when the wheels that he set into motion for his acquittal turned out not to be so. Interesting facts of the case. The judge was corrupted. He was under pressure. He was turned. He accepted bribes and he was under threat. And so therefore, acting from a position of self-interest, was prepared to dismiss the case. Unfortunately, Agent Ness acquired the evidence necessary to show the judge's compromised state, and he required the judge to impanel another jury that had not been corrupted as the current jury had been, and he ordered that his neighboring court that was in session, I forget the judge's name, and the panel that they had, was ordered into his court to hear these proceedings. And the criminal Capone once again showed his true heart and provided all the evidence necessary for his transportation to Supermax, where he died, where an undercover agent from heaven rendered the capital warrant. It was a long passing, and it was a sexual disease in nature that ultimately caused his spirit to separate from his biological life. And if you knew what the criminal Capone's suffering is right now, I do not believe you would follow him. That's another matter. The criminal Trump, President-elect pussy grabber, is the law violator on hand. The terrible criminal responsible for terrible things, including violation of American civil liberties and human rights. Do you know that most of the world has agreed to the Declaration of Human Rights? It's an old idea, and it's pretty clear in its standing, and it's not greater than our American law, but it is consistent with our American law, and it has been agreed to by treaty long ago. Every human being has a right to safety and security and community and neighborhood, to be free from fear, to be free from indentured servitude, be free to say no, be free to say heavens no, if their heart required them to. This went on longer than I had hoped, and I may not be doing it as regularly as I have, because my pulmonary function is, well, I haven't coughed any blood in a couple of hours, so I'm thinking that's a good thing, but there are times I cannot speak. So listen, peace and good, love and joy, and hold to courage more than you hold to any book. Hold to faith in